Then let's start working on the materials in the scene and shadow. So for our materials, let's try to use slightly simpler materials. Work on complex materials. So the order in which we make materials in our scene model. The order will be slightly different. So for the order of materials, let's start with this vertical one. Then we can pull the timeline below a little upward. Modify its interface into a shader editor. Let's put it here first. So at the same time, we also need to create a camera to help us observe the entire scene. There are no cameras in our scene yet. So, we need a camera over here. Then we can use Shift+A on the keyboard. Let's create a camera. Good. There will now be a camera object. So what happens after creating the camera? We can use keyboard shortcuts. 0 on the numeric key. We can quickly enter the camera view. That's if you don't have the number keys on the right. We can use this above our type key. Small apostrophe number. Or maybe this little point is right. You can use that. Should be the camera view in the lower left corner. You can also enter the camera view. Okay. Then after we enter the camera view, you can take a look at the right side of our screen. There is a button to lock the camera. So if we don't lock it, we just need to activate the view. In fact, we will do it quickly. From inside camera view, it breaks away. So if we want to adjust the angle our camera sees, then we need to keep the camera position unchanged. Need to stay in the camera window. Then adjust the screen. So we're going to lock it down. So if this is the case, we can adjust. We have seen the effect. Good. So overall, we want to achieve the effect of orthographic views. Make it look like a Lego toy. So when you adjust an angle, you can then cancel one of the locks on our camera. Then if you adjust the angle again after canceling, it will quickly fall out of our screen. Good. Now that we have adjusted the angle, select your camera. Select it in the Dogong window. Then in our Properties panel below, find the properties of the camera. We can see the camera properties. Has this perspective property. There are also orthogonal properties. What we mainly use here is the orthogonal attribute, so-called orthogonal properties. It's just that there is no perspective effect in the picture. Let's switch it up. After switching, we will find all objects in the picture. There is no sense of big or small, near or far. You see, we use perspective and orthographic. You can see between the two. There are some differences on the screen. After switching to orthogonal, here we can pull it by. We have orthogonal proportions. Let objects fill the inside of our picture. Just pull this orthogonal ratio. Because in orthogonal mode, we can't push or pull the camera. Let's move our objects out of the picture. Let our camera be closer or further away from the screen. You can only pass it. Our current locked camera can only change its angle. If you drag it, you can't make it move further away or closer than it is possible in a case of perspective. You push the mouse wheel or press the Control key and the middle button of the mouse. You can drag the camera. Then after you use orthogonal, it can't be pushed or pulled. So you can only use one of our orthogonal ratios. Then you can adjust the perspective of our picture. You can make it look down more or look more straight up. It's up to you to choose. Good. Well, now I have generally chosen an angle like this. Can go up a little bit. If it's a little higher, our moon may slip out of our frame. We can push it up a little bit. Make it more level-headed. Okay, then after determining the angle of view, we can unlock our perspective. Now we've got an orthographic view. Then it also determined one of our perspectives. Then turn it slightly left and right. We can be in the camera. What will be there below? View display. In the view display, we can use some. Let's take a look. Auxiliary line. As for the auxiliary lines, we can divide them. For example, we can use the 9-square grid method. That is to say, it helps us to construct a precise picture. Figure, right? You can check it. Or the center line. Look at my current corner. it's not aligned with its center line. But in fact, we all don't have to do it very perfectly and accurately. I just want to tell you that there are some auxiliary lines that you can use. Good. Unlock our view. The moon is now a little out of the picture. We can make it a little bit lower. You can also adjust it slightly to the left. Now I just use the current picture composition. Good. Then, after setting the picture composition, let's go next. You can do the material part of the screen. So as for the material, we can switch to rendering mode. You can also switch to our material preview mode. But I recommend just switching to rendering mode, because what are many material effects based on is based on the lighting of our environment. In other words, we need to have a lighting. Only then can we see whether our material is correct. Then we need to create a daylight. Our CVXA, we can create a light here. There are 4 types of lights by default: spotlight, daylight, spotlight, and surface light. That light, spotlight, and surface light, these 3 types of light all belong to a range of colors. In other words, it can only create a certain range of colors. Daylight is a full field illumination. So after you create the daylight, its entire irradiation range, it's an illumination range for your entire scene, but it has a lighting accuracy. So it doesn't mean a particularly far place. Its shadow accuracy will also be very high. So daylight its shadow is actually a problems that are less easy to solve. But it doesn't matter, because our entire scene does not need shadows. So we just need to create a daylight. Just make sure it's shining from the right to the left, because there is only a relationship between light and dark in our picture. There is no shadow relationship. So you create good daylight. You can use the Properties panel on the right. Find the properties of this daylight, right? We find it. So among the properties of sunlight, we can cancel its shadow. So we only need it to have a light and dark relationship distinction. Good. So now we are ready. The camera and a relatively simple light in the picture. Good. Then after there is sunlight, we can prepare to make its material part. First we select the leaves above. After selecting the leaves above, let's click below. It's our material, or called left side editor, right? To create a new material belonging to it. So the material on our tree, there is no relationship between light and shadow. There is only one color relationship. So we don't need its default principled BSDF here. Let's just delete it. Above is the name of our material. You can name it or not name it. We can also come up with a name. For example, we are called plants. We enter plants or trees. Everything is possible. Then after having a material node, we can create its color. So color, we can find a lot about color creation here. Some nodes. For example, we can find a color in the input. We can connect it to one of our surfaces. Note that there are 4 types below. Don't connect the wrong surface volume when changing the thickness. It's even given to the surface. After connecting to the surface, we can adjust the color here. Let's adjust the color here first. Not too important. I need to clarify the next question with you. For example, I have now adjusted it to a very bright green. So we can all observe now. The green color that appears in our screen. Follow the green color I adjusted now. It doesn't seem to be the same color. The green the first adjusted is relatively bright, a green with higher saturation. But you will find that the model in my picture is green. Not a particularly bright green, right? This will lead to the effect we want. It's not the same as the rendered effect. So why does this happen? And how to solve it? Let's take a look. Next we return to the Rendering Properties panel on the right. That is, inside the panel of the small camera. The renderer we are using now is EV. We confirmed. Most of the cases we will do later. EV is used as the renderer. Then at the bottom of it, we can see that there is something called color management. Such a content. In color management, let's look directly at the second item. It's called a view. Then pull down the content in the view. We will find that there are many types of view colors here, right? For example, there are color types for movies. When we switch to a different type, you will find that there will be some different changes in the colors in the picture, but it still seems to be different from the color we adjusted. So you can switch. Check out the different color types. There are certain differences in the colors it appears. So the color types here. In fact, it is to change the color of our entire scene. Through some algorithms, reselect the color type according to the different color types we selected, mapped onto our screen. It's a bit similar to when we were doing some post-production software. I made some color adjustments to your picture. So here we are. If you are doing a 2 out of 3 choice and cartoon-oriented type, you can just select it as the standard. The standard is not correct for the colors on the screen. Make any color adjustments. How do you adjust it? That's what it looks like. But this does not mean it's a very perfect solution, because only if we do something. When choosing 2 out of 3 and stylized types, what we commonly use is the standard. If you want to use cycles for realistic rendering, the standard may not be suitable, because it probably won't work on your highlights. Do any processing with the shadow parts. This will cause you to be in the scene. The lights created, it may work on your highlights, have come to produce some excessive lighting. But you will find that the dark part of it has not lit up yet, so it will create other problems. Of course, these problems are not ours in the stylized case. What to discuss? So we all just need to understand. If we make some 3-circle 2 or stylized content, just try to make it a standard. In this way, the color you adjust is the color you see. Then after setting it like this, we can formally make its material. So first, before we make its material, we need to briefly analyze. We want some texture on the tree. In other words, it will have some horizontal or vertical bars. This will make it look richer. So we don't need to create a color node here. Let's first create able to create some texture effects like this horizontal stripe. Let's just look for the texture here. The textures here are all those that come with it by default. Some textures calculated by the program. So we can go. Not dependent on your computer. What kind of texture is there? Of course, if you have a computer, has some very nice textures. You want to attach it to your model. It's also possible. We can pass the image texture. Open one on your computer. Textures you've prepared. But if you do this, we will involve some operations of unfolding UVs. Let's talk about this issue later. Let's create some now. There is almost no reliance on us to save UVs. Some textures like this. So here we are. You can find something called a wave texture. Wavy texture. So you can imagine it. What waves look like. After having this texture, we can attach it directly to our surface. You can see, it is now sideways. Just along the X direction. This is what happens layer by layer. It feels like wavy lines, right? Layer by layer texture. So it will actually have a direction. There is also the Y direction. It is generated layer by layer from the Y direction. There is also the Z direction. It's the effect of layer by layer from top to bottom, right? Except for the striped approach. It also has rings. The ring refers to. It produces the effect of a circle, right? It's round and round. The strips are one by one. We can just use strips here. For the direction, we use a Z value. It's just a feeling from top to bottom. Zoom below. We can make it more denser or less, wider. Just how I feel now. We generally use this effect. That's it. Then after adjusting, there are some distortions below. Then distortion refers to, can give it texture. Not so straight. There may be some curving feeling. Right? Will look more like us now. More in line with the texture on our tree. That kind of feeling. I think it's basically okay. Good. In that case, we passed a feature called wave texture. Produce some texture effects. It can only control the effect of texture, but it has no way to change the color of the texture. There is also no way to control the gradient between them. Then the original image we saw. It actually has a feeling similar to painting. So each color has very clear boundaries. So how should this step be adjusted? We can pick up another texture. It's called the gradient color in the color texture. The so-called gradient color can be used to adjust the gradient here. Not just 2 colors, 3 colors, 4 colors. More colors are available. Let's plug it in. After connecting it, we can change its color. Do some processing. For example, we want green. Light green to forest green. Or any kind of green will do, right? Both light green and forest green are acceptable. And we can also compress. Relationship between them. Make it look real. There is a feeling of small stripes. In addition to our manual, to compress it outside of its position. On our right, there is also a drop-down list. This tells us the type of current gradient color. We can change from this linear shape to a long straight. That long straight line is between the 2 color bars. Not overly colored. Just very, very hard. Right? Very hard. An effect produced. We can pull it. Take a look. We want it to have a light strip. Right? There is a light colored strip. Then the rest are slightly darker. Of course, it's not as dark as it is now. They all look like they should be yellow-green. A little bit shallower. Right? What about the other one? We can make it closer to a bright color. Then it also tends to be yellow. Right? This is the overall feeling. What about color? We all don't have to be exactly like me. You can adjust it to the color you like. That's it. So it doesn't have to be exactly the same color as mine. Good. What about now? The color effect of our previous layer. We have already adjusted it. Wavy texture behind. There are details inside. You can set it up a little bit. In terms of details. In fact, after it generates waves. Let's make it wavy and add some more. Some small details in the twists and turns. You can follow your own needs. To increase or decrease. Also available via zoom. Let's make this one a little more circular. Or less. Bright parts. I wish it was a little lighter. If the 2 color marks are very close to each other, when it's not easy to choose, we can use our serial number. 0101. Of course, if you have more, it will be 0123456. Will be more. Then I can make it a little bit weaker. A little bit. A little closer to our green one. So if this is the case, we have made the first material. Right? It's the first material effect of our top number. Okay. It's called numbers. We can add the multiplication displayed in the upper right corner. Cancel this grid. Cancel grid. Now it feels like this. Let's make it a little bit more yellow. Okay. Then the number of the second layer is the same as the number of the first layer. Looks the same. So we can use some faster methods. Just add the effect of the second layer. Copy it from the first layer. Good. Then let's take a look. How to copy the material of the first layer to the second layer. Let's choose the second layer first. Hold down the Shift key. Select the first layer again. So that means, make sure the object has a material. It's on the first floor. Okay, after choosing, we use an accounting key Ctrl-L. There will be an associated material in Ctrl-L. That is to say, from the last object we selected, associating the material to our second layer. After being associated, they have the same material. Note that this same material, it's really the same. They are associated. You can find it here. Take a look at the editor on the left. Behind it is written a 2. Right? So what does this 2 mean? This means that our current set of material masters. That's the material called tree, being used by 2 objects. In other words, it is also used above, also used below. Both objects are used. So if both objects are using, it will present a problem. That's when we want to adjust the color of the tree below. You can find the layer above. The same changes also occurred. So we can click on this too. Just click on it. Or click on the back of us. Those two little bookmarks. That's copying, right? You can copy a small button. No matter which one you click, the two behind it disappears. So what about now actually? It is divided into two materials. In other words, it will have a default number. There will also be a default. It's what we copied. Number 0.00. So now let's change its color. It won't be like the one above. We made it happen. Separate the two materials. Let's make it a little bit darker. Just need to darken it a little bit. You can also adjust it to make it slightly greener. The color of the little line in front. We can use this serial number to select it. Then its color is slightly darker. Don't let their colors contrast too much. Okay, so besides that, the texture effect of our lower layer. You can also adjust it, right? Could make it a little less detailed. That is to say, let it be consistent with the above. Are two completely different effects. Well, if that's the case, we made two materials. Then the third material, same as above. The processing method is the same. Let's choose the next level. Then you can just copy it. Or you can copy it. You can copy any one. Control-L key we associate with its material. After getting in touch, everyone will also find materials you have used. There will also be a 2. So this time we'll click on the one in front. But the principle is the same. It becomes the number 5.002. Let's take a look. Now it has 3 materials. Now let's adjust the material of 0.002. Adjust its color. Let's make the bottom layer a little darker. Make it slightly less saturated. Then you can go a little more towards green. Okay, right? The little horizontal strip above. This time we can change the color. For example, the first 2 layers are both bright colors. So our little horizontal strip this time, we can change it to a darker color. Right? They are slightly different from the ones above. So if this is the case, the material on our tree, now it has a good effect. Right? Then the following words. We can make it scale a little more. Make it more layered. And its distortions. You can also make it smaller or stronger. Everything is fine. You can add a little more details. Right? Specific effect. Just come back as you feel. So there is no complete standard. Right? I don't want it to feel like an assembly line. Everyone makes the same thing. The color is also exactly the same. It wouldn't be fun if we sent it out like this. Right? So you can come and follow your own ideas. Let it have some changes. Then the homework given by each of us is completely different. This looks interesting. It will be more fun. Good. So next is our bottom. Is a color of our tree trunks. Trunk color. Tree trunk words. I don't think there are any overly complicated effects above. Let's just give it a simple color. That is to say, I want the color of the trunk to be. It's just a brown color. Let's create a new material for it. It is a material different from others. It's completely new. So you can rename it trunk. Or anything. That's because it's a very simple material. So we just need to add a color to it here. For example, what did you give the previous one? Let's give the previous color. Right? We can also give the previous mixed color. Or there will be a color in this input. It is a color. Or maybe you're in the shader. You can also get a self-luminous one. In fact, both of them output colors. It's what we connect. It's all about color. Then let's go and color the previous one. It will also have a color. We can let it go to the previous one. Right? Just a slightly browner color. Of course you can use it too. Let's drag the color here to the bottom. So you'll find me using this. Use it in the current state. Basically, it's the same feeling. You can use either one of these two. So in this case, the material on our number. Let's finish talking. We will continue talking about the remaining material parts in the next few chapters.